Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to the Little Reader's house. I'm the Little Reader, also known as Amanda, and you, my friend, are in my house. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you here next to this beautiful peach selenite crystal. Peach selenite crystal, which was a free gift from my local crystal shop. I didn't get a chance to inquire, but I don't think that selenite comes in the color peach. I could be wrong. It's very possible. But something about this seems dyed. But isn't that beautiful? As my stomach joins the conversation. Hello. It's been doing that a lot lately. So we are having some kind of awakening in our Manipura chakras. All right, let's tune in. Let's get the transmission. Let's see what's going on in Spirit's world, which just so happens to be our world. Fascinating. Let me bring the microphone closer. It just feels so far away. This is what's coming through. Not this, I just like to show it to you. This, the topic that's coming through, is awakening the crone within. I keep hearing my stomach. I hope you don't mind. Very talkative today. Maybe we'll be able to understand some of the transmissions. Awakening your inner crone, beautiful soul. And Spirit is showing me these archetypes of this energy that is wise, that is honest, that is kind, that has seen it all. It is surprised by nothing, but at the same time is not bitter, not holding in resentment, not jaded or cynical. Instead, it's this energy that in the spiritual and I suppose you could say metaphysical, esoteric communities would be referred to as the crone. Crone indicating, I think the first thing that comes to mind when we hear the word crone is old lady. But the crone archetype, the way it's being presented in my mind's eye, so I am getting this frequency that is then being transmuted into imagery, is this raven. And it's not an old raven, it's just this messenger, even a crow. And it's not isolated to the feminine. So we say, awaken your inner crone, and the entire male identifying audience drops off. And that's okay, beautiful soul. Just as you came in through the door opens the opposite direction. This house is yours to come in and leave and come and go as your heart navigates you. Wow, I've been very moving the mic around lately. Mike, work with me. Well, maybe I should work with you. Let's be a team, shall we? Teamwork. But the crone, it is available for every individual at any age. There is no distinguishing characteristic that makes one individual more appropriate to channel in the crone archetype than any other. What it is more, though, than the symbolism that we've been shown in tarot and mysticism and books, stories, legend. There's more to it than that. And Spirit wants to transmit the wisdom of the crone and the awakening of the crone power to you today, beautiful soul, and to me. Very fortunate indeed to be part of this transmission. So let's see what it is that wants to come through. Embrace the ugly. Look for it. Look for it and look to love it. I see a face in front of a mirror that is morphing into hear the words that are coming through, ghastly, hideous. It's this just wrinkles etched deep, but it's more than wrinkles and it's more than age. There's this gaunt appearance, there's asymmetrical features, and there is this loathing in the moment. The entity that is looking into the mirror, witnessing this, is quite ready to smash the mirror. And Spirit's invitation to start, to activate the inner crone, is to look for what your mind, beautiful soul, judges as ugly. What does it judge as ugly? You can use a mirror. Although, please tell me, darling, you don't look in the mirror and see ugliness, do you? Because I look at you and I see perfection. But you can use a mirror. You can use media, film, art. You can use nature. You can use death. Nature features death quite widely. Dead plants, dead animals, even dead humans. Look for rotten food. Look for smells that repulse you. Look for ugliness. Truly begin to see my stomach again. Look to see where the mind, my sweet friend, is saying, oh, ugly, 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 ugly. And allow the mind to make that judgment. The mind is a judgment maker. That is one of its premier features. So it will judge as often and as loudly as possible until it falls into line with the leadership of the heart, based on your beautiful heart practice, which I know you are rigorously pursuing, my friend. The mind will judge, so allow it to do so. And rather than try to positivity wash the topic, Spirit says this act of positivity washing things is really castrating, evidently, our power by seeing the mind make a judgment and then trying to quickly, oh, I didn't mean that. Of course, I would never think such a thing. Let me quickly change that. That's not ugly. It's just, it's full of character. And the wrinkles, they just add this really, they show that you've smiled kind of vibe. That's very sweet if it comes from a genuine, authentic place. But it doesn't come from a genuine, authentic place when the mind makes the judgment and then the mind, remembering that it's supposed to be changing its patterns, jumps in to make a counter judgment to try to change the thought. Now, there is scientific evidence that there are ways to reprogram the mind, quite a bit actually, by changing the neural pathway, changing the thought. When you get a trigger, when you see a judgment made, you swap it out with another trigger. That's Psychology 101, darling. Hello, psych major here. It's been a while, but it probably works very much the way that it did in 2021. That does bear the thought, though, of revisiting the science. So, little reader assignment noted. But back in the day, the science said that you could change your thought patterning by changing the stimulus that when you experience a stimulus, you add a new stimulus or you take a stimulus away to change the reaction of the brain. And that's very old paradigm, according to Spirit. It's not that it doesn't work. It's just not capitalizing on, interesting choice of word. Because there is capital at stake here in a way. We have this infinite potential, so you could think of it as you are an infinite gold mine, endless money, if you will, or endless capital. And yet when we work with rudimentary science, when we work with an approach that is cause and effect and reaction based, meaning stimulus or action occurs and then counteraction or counter stimulus occurs. Spirit's saying we're still trapped in a loop and we're not tapping into the capital, the energy, the power that's within. And something that we have been smothering, like this is a blanket and we're literally choking the life out of it, is the power of the crone, the inner crone that resides within all of us. So we look at something that's ugly and it goes a couple of ways. It's either, oh, I better, in the name of self-love, I better change this thought and swap it out with a better one. But that is a missed opportunity, according to Spirit. The other way it could go is we look at something that's ugly and go, whew, yeah, that's ugly. I'll just kind of distance myself from that. The third way that I think people who are cognizant of the sound of their thoughts and watching their own inner reactions go, or more likely to go, is neutrality. Okay, ugly, but let's give it a chance and let's see what comes of this. Or let's just, if it's an issue or if it's a mess, let's appropriately address it. But all three of these things are gently being recycled into something new today. And you get it, beautiful soul. You are here to receive it. Lean in. Not just to this moment, although, hi, how are you? Not just to this moment. Lean into the ugly. Lean into it. Allow the mind to make the judgment. Whatever it is, mess, face or image of an individual, nature being nature, death also being nature, mess. Lean into the ugliness. This is the first way of the crone, one might say. And Spirit smiles at that, so thank you. The way of the crone is not to fear the void, which ugliness brings us very close to. Because the human instinct is, if something is ugly, it could be dangerous. Death could be involved. There's this method of screenplay writing called Save the Cat. And in the author of one of the Save the Cat books, I believe it's on writing a killer pilot, says that an intense and important part of any screenplay is a whiff of death. A whiff of death. And interestingly, our individual stories are very much like movies, that the awareness within us, which is actually us, is witnessing. It is a fully immersive story. So me, the awareness, is situated in this body, looking through these eyes, watching a movie about this character, who I am pretending to be for a time. There's nothing more growth-inducing than a whiff of death. And ugliness offers us that medicine. Ugliness, the thing we don't want to see, and Spirit's taking it, of course, even further, because Spirit is doing what Spirit does, which is expanding it, darling. It's growing. It's getting even more layers and characteristics to it. Look not just at the ugliness and lean into it that we see externally, but Spirit asks us to take it further. Look inside for ugliness. We don't have to search for it, because if we search for it, we're giving the mind a task. Now it becomes a operation. Well, we must achieve the end, so what are the means? We'll look for it and we'll extract all ugliness and be pure and perfect in the light. Nay, darling, Watch for it. And when it arises, lean in. So we practice with the external world. We see something ugly, and instead of shying away or closing our eyes, they're like, I can't deal. We take it and we go, ooh, huh. And all we've got to do is just get a little bit closer to it. That's all. We don't have to take it as part of ourselves. We don't have to try to change it. We don't have to do anything to it. We just need to witness it generously. Witness it. This is the way of the crone. Witness it. Even as the mind makes that judgment call. Then we apply the same approach to the internals. Something comes up that we deem ugly. It may not be an image. We can't really see in here, can we? At least not with these physical eyes. That would require something. I don't think we're there scientifically yet. But, I mean, unless we're looking at it, we're looking through a lens, a camera, or some other method. But looking inside is feeling inside. Witnessing inside. So when emotions begin to arise, that we, again, the mind makes a judgment, ugly, despicable, repulsive, pathetic, weak. There are so many versions of ugly. We know it when we see it, but can we know it when we feel it? What does ugly feel like to you, beautiful soul? Does it feel like disgusting, gross, perverted, debauched? Whatever that ugliness is. Spirit's not asking that we immediately identify with it and go, okay, guess I'm a pervert now. That's who I am. Because remember, your awareness. So you can't be anything that passes through you. You can only be all of it simultaneously. You're the light within. You can't be pinned down just by a single quality or a single emotion or a single form or a single mental link. So we don't need to take it on and pretend now that we're that. Instead, we merely lean in for the witnessing. And when we're talking about ugly, the emotion that is going to rise up with this is shame, first and foremost. Shame. So what are we ashamed of? It's going to come up when we're ruminating, thinking about something that happened or something we did. It's going to come up when we enter a room and feel like the outsider. It's going to come up when we're processing guilt. It's going to come up even in the aftermath of healing work. Ugly will arise, externally and internally. And the way of the crone is to lean in and just double down on the witnessing. Ugly? Let me look. Let me see. Let me witness. And the power of this is so immense that to channel it almost puts my mouth shut, which makes conversation difficult, at least verbal, sound-based. The intensity that arises as a result of the courage to look in at the ugly, even after that judgment call has been made by the mind, because that's the first step. If that judgment call wasn't being made, we'd be looking at all things equally. We'd be giving equal attention and equal awareness and equal presence to all things. But the mind, again, it's a judging machine. So it believes, I'm going to determine how much awareness you give to that. First of all, this is the mind talking now. First of all your awareness is going to be in me at all times. Okay? Because I said so. And then secondly, I'm going to determine in your external and internal worlds how much awareness anything that pops up gets from you. I'm going to determine it. That's the mind again. Now, the mind is patterning. The mind is not awareness. Awareness can shine through it, but the mind itself is a level of patterning and form that is just below the physical form. And we will talk more about the mind in depth in future transmissions, and we've talked about it a lot in past transmissions. But when we're operating through that way of the mind, the way of the mind, we are a walking, talking pattern. So we can count on minimal, well, pretty much no innovation, because we're not using the mind as a tool. We are being used as the mind, by the mind, as a tool. So the mind decides when it makes the judgment call of ugliness. You don't get to, no attention on that. And you may be surprised, beautiful soul, because even now your mind may gyrate and machinate and say, oh, no, that's not true. We love horror movies. We love scary shit. So then that means that the mind has redefined ugliness. If you find that you're attracted to horror or gruesome devastation and even death and distress, especially in films and media, that is worth noting. That is a closeness to the crone archetype. But to fully embody the way of the crone, we must go a little deeper and look for the ugliness that inspires fear within you. Is it about the condition of your own form, present or future? Is it about death itself? Is it about destruction of the earth, degradation of resources? Is it about mess? Is it about the rotting destruction that unpurged emotions can create when left to just bubble and broil on the inside? Resentment, one would call it. Is it the decay of teeth? Where is the ugliness not being looked at? And when we choose to lean in, not to identify as, but to witness, not only do we take back that much power from the realm of mind, take back the power of the mind to constantly determine what's allowed to have your attention and what's not, based on what works best for the realm of mind. You reprioritize the show. For a moment, you're doing what works best. For the realm of form. What works best for the realm of heart. And works best for the realm of mind. You're evening the scales. But more so than that, by embracing the way of the crone, and this is just the very beginning of the journey, but it's enough for today, Spirit says. By embracing the way of the crone, we shake off a fearfulness that keeps us rigid, that makes us not just the servant of our own mental link, but servant to the entire collective realm of mind. See, if we're bowing down to our own mental link, that link is an average of so many factors even beyond our individual form. That means we're bowing down to an entire way of life that's been created by the collective. But there's a way of life inside of your heart, beautiful soul, that is unleashed. The way of life that's here inside of you has the power to turn over the entire structure, that which does not serve, and rebuild it in a way that serves the well-being of all. When we follow the way of crone, we're no longer afraid of old structures collapsing. We're no longer afraid of throwing everything we know into the void. We're no longer afraid of our own death, either the big one when we lay down this form, or the thousands of enormous ones that occur over the course of our life, even when we're not looking. Ego deaths, deaths of personality, deaths of preference, deaths caused by new ideas or old ideas, new experiences or old ones. Fear leaves the building when we embrace the way of the crone, when we can lean in to ugliness, not to become it, not to change it, not even to embrace it, not to worship it, not to glorify it, to do nothing than but to witness it with a curious eye and say, oh, I see you. Because if you can look into the little fears every day, into the little uglies with courage, not only do you spark your remembrance to the fact that you are awareness, witnessing a show, but you also regain the power to look right into the eyes of death and fear itself. And a practice like that, beautiful soul, it makes you a master. So, that is where we are leaving it today. May the crone strive within you. May it rise up boldly and claim its place, its seat at the table, its place in your consciousness, fearless, courageous, and full of loving presence and witnessing, even for the things that we shy away from the most. Until we meet again, I am sending you all the love I've got, beautiful soul. Always more, never less, because you are so very worthy of it.